तमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So, verses 4, 5 and 6. Duryodhana introducing the army. Whose army? The other side. First you always see what you are against. And he talks about the characters that feature in this war. Who are the people heading the various divisions. The division was called Akshauhini, one division. And that consisted of 21,000 and odd, 860 or something like that, 21,860 each, elephants and chariots, and I think 8,000, 21,000 and I think some more than that, 66,000 horses and 109 foot soldiers, 109,000 foot soldiers. So it was like a 1-to-3 ratio of elephants, chariots, and then horses and footmen. Now the Pandavas had 7 divisions, Akshauhinis, that you could go into various formations. And the Kauravas had 11. So which was more powerful? Naturally the Kaurava army was invincible, very powerful. So to show this and to apple polish Bhishma, he says this very nicely. He says, goes to him first and he says, Atra Shuraha Maheshvasaha Bhimarjuna Samayudhi, because there are lots of people here. Shuraha means these brave ones that make up the battlefield. They are no less than Arjuna and Bhima. They are very comparable. And then and they are they are very wonderful here, and so many people are there. Virata is there, Virat, Raja of Virat, where they had done their incognito place, that incognito stay. Is there a problem? Okay, they were incognito for 1 year, remember?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where they had gone to Virat. And Virat Pradesha has to do with that king, Matsya Raja or whatever he was, and he was a great ally because he had spent 1 year with them, and of course he was ready to fight for them. And so this is one of the people. And then who else? Then Drupada, who is a Maharatha, yesterday I told you, who has command over 10,000 chariots and I think 100,000 foot soldiers or something. The one who has the ability to command is called Maharatha. And Drupada, who, is the father of Draupadi, and Draupadi and Drishtadhyumna, which was described in verse number 3 as your own great disciple who has defected to the other side. Now there is a very interesting history between Drupada and Drona. They went to the same Gurukula and they were the best of friends. And in friendship you say lots of things, BFF, best friends forever, and you say so many things that you may not mean. And so Drupada said, when I grow up, because Drupada was a prince, and Drona was a Brahmana. He was not a prince, he was a poor fellow from a learned family, but he was not a prince. And so, but that desire for that thing was there, because the kingdom must have been there, because Drupada, to make him feel better, said, when I grow up, they were all 12, 15 years old. When I grow up and become the king, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give you half my kingdom. Drona said, oh goody. And then, these are childhood promises. Nobody, goes and tries to reclaim, but this foolish Drona showed up After he was crowned the king, and he said, hey, when we were 12 years old at the Gurukula, you said you are going to give me half the kingdom. Drupada laughed. He said, come on, I'll give you a nice meal. Eat and go. I'm not going to give you a kingdom. And he was really upset, very upset, that he thought he had broken his promise. And so that's why they were on opposite sides. And then Drupada was also upset because he tried to get even for this whole kingdom thing. And so therefore what? Drupada, just to get some, he was childless. And he did this Putrakameshti Yajna, out of which these twins, Draupadi and Drishtadhyumna, were born. And Drishtadhyumna was born just to kill off this fellow. Who? Drona. And of course that's how he is ending up on the other side of the army. So Drupada is mentioned here as a Maharatha. So Drupada and Drishtadhyumna, father and son. And then who else is there? Drishtaketu. Drishtaketu, I think, is a who was he? Some chieftain, some kind of a Chedi, the son of he was a prince of Chedi. And then Drishtaketu, Chekitanaha was a Yadava chieftain, and the Raja of Kashi, we don't know who, it's not mentioned here. Viryavan is not a person, means they are all brave. And then Purujit and Kunti Bhoja, they are the father-son duo. Kunti Bhoja is either Kunti's brother or father, both had the same name. And Purujit is another brother of Kunti. And so this is, and then Shaibya. Shaibya is the father-in-law of Yudhishthira by another marriage. And Yudhamanyu and Uttamaujas were brave princes, the sons of Panchala king. Unfortunately, they were all killed off in their sleep by the stupid Ashwathama who broke the rules of war, Drona's son. And then Saubhadra is Abhimanyu here, and Draupadeyahacha and the sons of Draupadi. All of them are Maharathas, and this is the state of their army. Now he says, let us look at our army, because first you present their army, which is smaller and less of something to be contented with. There is nothing to talk about them, but you praise their army and then you talk about your own army. So let us see that. Asmakan tu vishishtaye,
Asmakam tu vishishtaye,
Tani bodhadvijottama,
Tani bodhadvijottama,
Nayaka mama sainyasya,
Nayaka mama sainyasya,
Sangyarthan tan bravimite,
Sanyarthan tan bravimite,
Sangyarthan tan bravimite.
Sanyartham tan bravimite.
Okay, so he says, Asmakam tu, our army, whereas Vishishtaha, Vishishta means endowed with, or that which stands out, that who are the people who make our army stand out? Oh, the most exalted among the learned of the Brahmanas, Dvijottama, hey Dvijottama, Tan Nibodha, I am going to present them to you, Nayakaha, these leaders, I am going to, Mama Sainyasya, the leaders of my army, Sanyartham means in order of their importance, I am going to recount to you, please make a note of it, Nibodha means note it down. Listen now. That's what. There is nothing much to say. And because, what else is there to say? Because he is now talking about his army. Having talked about the stalwarts in their army, he wants to do a mental comparison, a nirikshanam, a kind of an inspection. And so he says, let us now look at our army and see who are the people. भवान् भीष्मश्च कर्णश्च
Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha
कृपश्च समितिञ्जयः
Kripascha Samitinjayah
अश्वत्थामा विकर्णश्च
Ashwathama Vikarnascha
सौमदत्तिर्जयद्रथः
Saumadattir Jayadrataha.
Why?
Saumadattis tathaiva cha.
Oh, no, here it says Saumadattir Jayadratha. Yeah, because anyway, sometimes there are some differences, doesn't matter. Anye cha bahava shuraha
Anye cha bhavah shuraha
madarte tyakta jivitaha
Madarthe tyakta jivitaha
nana shastra praharanaha
Nana shastra praharanaha
सर्वे युद्धविशारदाः
Sarve yudha visharadaha
विशारदाः Yeah. So he is talking about his army and he begins with Bhavan. Bhavan means what? You, O sir. He begins with him first so that he doesn't feel slighted because all his favorite disciples are on the other side. He doesn't want him to defect, over and go over to the other side. So he said, Bhavan, you, sir. And who else? The other elder. Bhishma. Bhishma, who had a boon that he could only die at the time of his choosing. Nobody could kill him. And he was a very brave person. And it said that he never lowered his bow throughout the war. Of course, according to the rules, you should not put down your bow. But they made certain things happen. Like they made a woman come into the battlefield. So then naturally you're not going to greet the woman like that, even though women were not supposed to come into the battlefield. So they made this woman come into the battlefield, and then so he had a moment of lowering the bow. And so anyway, that's a different story. So this was Bhishma. Bhishma, the one of terrible vow. That's why he's called Bhishma. And he was the son of Ganga, the river Ganges, and Shantanu. And Shantanu, this king, fell in love with this Ganga. And then he said, please, I have come to ask for your hand, marry me. She says, only on one condition. Sure, what's the condition? You should never question my whereabouts. And you should never question my whatabouts. Whatever I do, you should never question. The day you question, I'm going to leave. And he says, okay, fine. And then they have a child, and then she takes the child somewhere in the night and then comes back without the child. And he says, what? Where is my firstborn? Gone. But he can't say that because he says, oh, she will also leave me and go. Then very soon another child is born, same thing happens. Third child, same thing happens. She takes very good care of them. She's a great mother, but after the few months, we don't know what happens. They just disappear, and she comes back and acts as though nothing has happened. And he also cannot question it. And this is very, very strange. So I think around the fifth or the sixth child, he gets wise. Seventh child, he gets wise. And Bhishma is one of the children, But before he's born, the elder brother, when it was born and she takes him away in the dead of the night, he pretends to be sleeping. And I think she was giving him some milk with some sleeping potion. And he doesn't drink that, and he slowly creeps out and sees what she's doing. And to his horror, she's taking the infant and drowning it in the river. Apparently there's another long story with that, because they were the 8 Vasus or something like that, and they had some kind of devatas, and then they had some curse that they should be there for a short time in human form. And I think, what was his name before? Satyavrata or something. No, Satyavati was the one he married. The one, Bhishma's name was something. Devavrata, yeah, some Vrata was there. His name was not Bhishma. He got that name after he made this vow. And so his name was Devavrata. And he was also some other exalted jiva in a last life, which Ganga, being all knowing, she knew that. But he was supposed to live for a long time. So then, the king cannot tolerate it. He had put a hoodie on and had followed the wife, and then he just took her to task when the seventh child was drowned, and he just said, "What are you doing?" Bhishma was just born or something like that, but anyhow, she was happily, merrily drowning all these children. And then, so she said, "Okay, now that you have questioned me, I have to leave." So she leaves this small boy and goes away. And the king is happy she left. Thank God, at least I have one child. All the other children are gone. So he raises the child, and eventually when Devavrata, aka Bhishma, is in his early 20s, falls in love with a fisherwoman, by the name of Satyavati. And and Satyavati and the family should have been very happy that they are getting married in a kingly clan. No. They had all their heirs. Satyavati herself said, "I'm not going to marry you." "Why? I really love you." She said, "There is something fishy here." Because you have a growing son. My children will never have a shot at the throne. Never ever. That's what she said. And so Bhishma, then and there, in front of the fisherman's house, takes a vow of celibacy, lifelong celibacy. He says, "I'll never marry, I will never have children, and I will always protect the throne of Hastinapura." That was him. And lightning struck because of the force of this vow, and there are so many stories. So he's a man of great resolve, just a little misplaced, that's all it was. And so that was Bhishma. Drona, of course, we know a lot about. Greedy Drona, and then Bhishma, and then Kripa. Kripa is brother-in-law of Drona. Kripa and Drona's wife is Kripi, and the brother's name is Kripa. Yama, Yami, like that, Kripa, Kripi. So Kripa is another great king. And then Karna. Karna, I told you the story of Karna, didn't I? Say yes? Yes. So, and then Ashwathama. Samitinjayaha means all those who are never vanquished in battle. And Ashwathama, who is Ashwathama? The son of Dronacharya. Vikarna, the younger brother of Duryodhana. Vikarna. And then Saumadatti. Saumadatta was son of Somadatta, and his real name was something Bhurishrava or something like that, another prince. And Jayadratha. Who is Jayadratha? Brother-in-law. Yeah, brother-in-law of Duryodhana. His sister's husband, Jayadratha. And then all these Anye, even, other than these people, he says there are many other people. Anye cha bahavaha. Many people are there who are what? Shuraha, equally brave. And what have they done? They are madarthe tyakta jivitaha. Tyakta jiva, tyakta jivitaha means those who have given up their lives. So, tyaktam jivanam yaihi. By whom their life has been given up. For who? My sake. And this was purely a statement of aplomb. And what he meant to say is that there are so many people ready to give up their lives. He didn't mean to say who have already given up their lives, because how is that possible? How can they already give up their lives? That means he has a dead army or what? No, they are alive. But the fact that he said that that they have already, as it were, given up their lives. Sometimes Daivam works in certain ways, and you should always say pleasant things. Even if unpleasant thoughts come, one is not in charge of the unpleasant thoughts, but one must talk only pleasant things, because he said something very unpleasant, because he wanted to say they're all under my control and I control all of them, and look at this, how wonderful they are, and they have already given up their lives for me, that's why they are in the battlefield. Well, famous last words. And all of them die. Very interesting. So, Madarthe tyakta jivitaha, and then what? Nana shastra praharanaha, meaning they are the wielders of many shastras, means, what are the shastras? Weapons of war. And praharanas are things you throw, missiles and landmines and, arrows that you release. Shastra is the bow, praharana is that which you throw, the arrows. So, Nana Shastra Praharanaha means those who have all these big, all these, what's the word for it? An arsenal of weaponry of various kinds. And then Sarve Yuddha Visharadaha, all of them have done PhD in the art of warfare. Visharadaha means learned in the art of warfare. This is our army, and then he makes a judgment about which army is better. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishmabhirakshitam paryaptam tvidame tesham balam bhimabhirakshitam. Yeah, so it's a little word play here. Bhima and Bhishma, the protectors of both the armies. So, Balam is army, the strength of the army, protected by Bhishma is Aparyaptam. In the regular parlance, the word Pari plus Ap, A plus Pari plus Ap, Aparyapta, plus Kta, past passive participle, has the Rudhi Artha, has the common parlance meaning of inadequate. Aparyaptam means inadequate, generally speaking, but here that's not the meaning, because who had the greater army? Kauravas had the greater. They had 4 more Akshauhinis than the Pandavas, who had only 7. These people had 11. So Aparyaptam means, that which is incapable of being taken over. Yeah. The negative particle, Paryaptam, capable of being overwhelmed, capable of being penetrated, capable of being decimated, capable of being destroyed. Aparyaptam, that which is impregnable. An army that is not going to be overwhelmed by anything is called Aparyaptam. Aparyaptam tu idam etesham balam. This strength of this army protected by Bhishma can never be overpowered. That's what he says. Whereas tu paryaptam means that which can be easily overwhelmed is this bhimabhirakshitam, is this so-called army. Yeah, did you understand now? Yeah, the so-called army of who? The Pandavas. They have nothing. So he's trying to boost up Drona's courage and say that this battle is a cakewalk. Already I have started to pour the champagne in my tent. For you and me. We are going to clink the goblets soon. Let's make short shrift of these people. Look at their army. Yes, they have some Maharathas, but what's the use of a title called Maharatha when you are standing there? And you just have only, we have 1.5 times more strength than you, and they are just standing there, all out of sense of dharma, loyalty. This is not what makes a war. What makes a war is just, you have to be able to be like Tarzan, beat your chest and go into it and do the thing you need to do. And we know how to do that. We have lots of tricks up our sleeves, and since we don't bother about dharma, we don't have to worry about the morals of this war. This we have it in our basket. This is in our pocket. So I suggest we make short shrift of these people and then accompany me to the tent where there is a whole slew of women who are singing for us and dancing for us, and we'll enjoy the show and clink the victory goblets and celebrate. This is nothing, this is just a little annoyance, like, removing an insect from the sleeve, you're just going to somewhere and then you see this, and this is not important. Where you're headed is important. This is just in the way you just flick off a piece of thread, a lint, an insect off the sleeve. That is what this war is. We are going to just, completely rout them. They are not going to have, they're all going to die. And we are just going to be celebrating. Already they are, pouring the toddy, and then we'll just, do this slightly unpleasant work and then come back. So he says that, and then further he says his approach he's talking about. What is his approach? His approach to the war, and what is his strategy? Approach means here strategy. What is his strategy for the war? He says, I want the formations of the army to protect the commander-in-chief, Bhishma. I want all of them to surround him. He should be right at the center, and he should be surrounded on all sides, and if he is thus protected, then he will be able to guide the army and guide us forward in warfare and guide us to, basically make short shrift of the other side and win the war. As it turns out, it's a foolish strategy, because who is Bhishma? The one who got a boon that he could die whenever he wanted. So nobody can really kill him. He doesn't even need to be protected. But this fellow is really apple polishing all the elders so that they feel secure and they support him, Ayaneshu cha sarveshu yatha bhagam avasthitaha Bhishmamevabhirakshantu Bhavantas sarva eva hi. Yeah. Bhavantah sarve, all of you, eva hi, indeed, should, what should you do? Bhishmameva abhirakshantu. All of you, he is now addressing the heads of the various akshauhinis, the division, and he says, all of you indeed, bhavantah sarve eva hi, all of you should indeed what? Bhishmameva abhirakshantu. All your efforts should be towards protecting our commander-in-chief, because a protected commander-in-chief who is not lost his life can alone direct the war forward, the war effort. So therefore, Bhishmameva abhirakshantu bhavantah sarve eva hi. And how do you do that? Ayaneshu, in the divisions, sarveshu, in all the divisions, yatha bhagam avasthitaha, as you have been stationed. Yatha bhagam means as it has been decided that you will be here, you will be over there, and you are flanking from the back, you are coming in the front, you are coming on that side. It's just like a football field. There are, various positions, correct? Some people are right there, some people are keeping the goal, quarterback, this, all these people are there, and those are all positional stations. So even the divisions and the leaders have these positional stations, yatha bhagam avasthitaha, as it has been previously decided. Without crossing that, you please take your positions, and I'm going to tell you the rationale for this position. What is the rationale for this position? To protect Bhima, our commander-in-chief. Bhishma, our commander-in-chief. So then, Bhishma of course, Duryodhana is speaking with a megaphone. Let us not forget, because there is this din of all these people, and they have all, Akshauhinis, I told you, 21,000 chariots, 21,001. The one division has 21,000 chariots, 21,000 elephants, 66,000 horses, and as many horse riders, and then 109,000 and odd thousand foot soldiers. They are not going to be keeping quiet and meditating. They have not come to Kurukshetra to meditate. What for have they come? They have come to fight. And already they'll be talking to each other. They will be and the horses will be neighing, they'll be restless. The elephants will have already stamped on things that they should not have stamped on. So there'll be a big, conundrum, and it's a noisy place. So he will be speaking with some kind of an amplifying device they had in those times. And then Bhishma heard him, and Bhishma laughed. He said, "Oh, they're going to protect me? They don't know who I am." And for good measure, in good sport, he laughed, and he also wanted to show off his prowess. And also he wanted to give a nod, give a salute to Duryodhana's feeling that, look, I want to protect the elders. So in a jovial spirit, he pulled out his conch shell, which was the declaration of the war, and made a terrible sound with it. A sound that made even the bravest of horses take off in fear, unless their riders held them tight. That kind of a sound he made. And that sound was also the declaration of war by the eldest of both the sides. So this is what is described in the next one. Tasya sanjayanan harsham.
Tasya sanjayanan harsham.
Kuru vriddhah pitamahah.
Kuru vriddhah pitamahah.
Simhanadam vinodyochaihi.
Simhanadam vinodyochaihi.
Shankham dadmau pratapavan.
Shankham dadmau pratapavan.
Yeah, Simhanadam vinodya means having let out the roar of a lion. And what kind of a roar? Uchchaihi, a loud roar. Who? Kuru vriddhaha pitamaha. Kuru vriddhaha means the eldest of the Kuru clan. Here Kuru means both Pandavas and Kauravas. Together are known as Kurus, because their ancestor was Kuru, who did a lot of tapas in a place called Kurukshetra. That's why it is called Dharmakshetra also. So then, Tasya Sanjayanan Harsham, meaning his happiness he could not contain, Bhishma. First he was happy that Drona was acknowledging him. Second, he was happy because he said, oh, these youngsters, they think I can't protect myself, let me show them. So he was happy because he knew the kind of noise that was about to come out of his shell. He lets out he blows his conch shell and lets out a terrible noise, and which was louder than the roar of several lions. And why did he do that? He wanted to, because this fellow Duryodhana with a megaphone is trying to boost up his army, so Bhishma is also giving his input and furthering Duryodhana's effort to boost up the army. And then what happens? And then he says, and he does that. And Pratapavan means the one who is valorous, the brave one. Pratapavan, Simhanadam vinodyochaihi, Shankham dadmau Pratapavan. And then what happened? Look at what he started. Everybody else, this is the part of the war which you find even now when they recreate the war, and they have all these Mahabharata recreations in the street plays. They have conch shells, they have those drums, they have the bagpipes, bellows, and then they have the things that you go like this with, what is that called? Tambourines. And then they have the what is it called? Banners on top of their chariots. Victory banners, you know. Hanumanji was sitting on, actually in real Hanumanji, who was still alive at the time of Mahabharata, went and sat. He says, I'm too old to fight. And, and he was bored because this was just such a choreographed war. He had seen the war between Rama and Ravana. And then after the war, somebody asked him, how was this war comparing to that war? And he said, Rama Ravanayoho yuddham, Rama Ravanayoho yuddhameva, meaning the war between Rama and Ravana was just like ... the war between Rama and Ravana, meaning this cannot compare. And in fact, he just snored. And he said, I'm too old to fight. Most of the time he slept. But then he said he'll help the Pandavas because they are full of dharma. And he said, I'll make them, when some things are, bad things are happening and you are losing, you're in places where at times when you are losing the battle, I'll make such a terrible noise from the banner sitting in the flag that everyone will run away, or they will just be blindsided, they won't know what hit them. And then what will happen? That moment will pass and you can regain your strength. So he screams like that and he's sitting on top. He only woke up a couple of times in the war. Otherwise he thought it was very boring, because he liked the war between Rama and Ravana, because Rama's army was full of these vanaras, these monkeys, humanoids. And Ravana's army was full of asuras. And you should have seen, the asuras, when they fight, they don't bother with all these praharana, astra, shastra, nothing, They just take two things and then they bash them together, and that was the thing. And it was a very funny war. And so he was used to that kind of action. And, it was a very entertaining war. It was very comic, Rama and Ravana's battle. And so that was what he was used to. He found this extremely orchestrated and very boring. So all that to say that these were the accoutrements of the war. Everybody had a conch shell which had a name like a pet, and then everybody had a banner, everybody had other instruments. They were not to sit and make music. War is not a time to make music, but to make a loud sound. And the sounds are important because this is how you liven up the drooping morale. Yeah, cheerleaders. This is the cheerleaders. Yeah, exactly. So otherwise the morale is drooping, because they know that all these foot soldiers, especially who have been just taken off the street, poor things, maybe they were going to buy milk. Duryodhana literally picks them off the street. Hey you, what? Don't, I've not done anything wrong. You are coming to the army. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. Otherwise, I'll cut off your whole family's heads, including yours. So this is a choiceless choice. A lot of people were just young lads that had just been picked off the street on the way home from the market. And they had they knew they were walking into the jaws of death. It was a terrible war. So and how will they have morale? Who wants to fight like that? No one. And so therefore you have to give it a rationale. Like even in the current day, the United States gives the rationale. Oh, you have to protect the country. Well, who is threatening the country? No one. But still the feeling is, the country is under threat. And if something happens somewhere in Syria, everyone from here has to go. Why? No. Because otherwise they might come here. How are they going to come here? They are infighting amongst themselves. No. We have to, on humanitarian grounds, we have to go and, do something. Okay. Give out food, open a hospital. You are interested in saving them. Go save them. No. We have to teach them a thing. Here is where the thing is. So you have to justify the righteousness of war, which is really impossible to justify. You can never justify war in a certain sense. That's what happened here also. At least, from the side of the Pandavas, they were in the right. At least that can be this thing. But if you are in the wrong and you are waging a war for a wrong reason, you can never justify that war. That's why the United States always gets into trouble, because they have to justify Vietnam. They have to justify all these mishaps these Middle East wars and this and Afghanistan and now everywhere. There is no place where, the army is not. Army, Navy, Air Force is everywhere. They insert themselves everywhere, like the Kauravas did. And so the Kauravas here, cannot justify this war. So what do you have to do? And even otherwise, even if you're on the side of Dharma, it's kind of nerve-wracking, it's very frightening, and then, you have to do all these things, and so you have to, beat some drums, blow some conch shells, blow some bagpipes, make some horrible noises, and then say, hey, K for Kaurava, P for Pandava, you have to do all these things. So then only the people will go forward, otherwise the formation will come into a standstill, they will not form into their formations. And so, as soon as the elder sounded the battle cry, by making this horrible set of noises with his shell, with his conch shell, what happened? Let us see. Tata shankhaschcha bheryascha
Tata shankhaschcha bheryascha
Panavanaka gomukhaha
Panavanaka gomukhaha
Sahasaivabhyahanyanta
Sahasaivabhyahanyanta
Sashabdastu mulo bhavat
Sashabdastu mulo bhavat.
Yeah. So, tataha means suddenly, all of a sudden. Yes, it was noisy, but not like this. All of a sudden, what happened? The air was filled with these noises. Shankhaha, the conch shells. Bherya, big drums called kettle drums. Panavana means these tambourines. And then Gomukhaha, cow trumpets. Trumpets with making this moving sound. And then what? Sahasa eva abhyahanyanta. All of them started to make the sounds. The abhyahanyanta means they started to blast forth, all of them together simultaneously. And shabdaha tumulo bhavat means the sound, the vibration, the sound created was earth shattering. And Mother Earth said, where are my noise cancelling headphones? They made an earth shattering cry of all these, shankhas blowing at the same time, and all these kettle drums beating at the same time, and all these bagpipes and cow horns and tambourines being played. They were not in a symphony, it was a cacophony of noise, and this was each one trying to bring up the morale of their own people. This is what happens. And then don't think that Krishna and Arjuna are going to keep quiet with everyone blowing their shells. Perhaps, I suppose, this is how blow your own horn has come. The saying, blow your own trumpet, blow your own horn, maybe it came from this. Who knows? So Arjuna and Krishna are not going to keep quiet. What did they do? Let us see. Tata shvetair hayair yukte
Tata shvetair hayair yukte
Mahatisyandane sthitau
Mahatisyandane sthitau
Madhavav pandavaschaiva
Madhavav pandavaschaiva
Divyau shankhau pradadmatuhu
Divyau shankhau pradadmatuhu.
Yeah. So, now tataha, thereafter, what happened? Shvetaihi hayaihi yukte mahati syandhane. Syandhana means chariot. Mahati, big. In the big chariot, sthitau, occupying, seated. What kind of a big chariot? Shvetaihi hayaihi yukte. Endowed or tied up with what? Drawn by what? White horses. So in this great chariot, which was yoked by or drawn by white horses, who Madhavaha means Krishna and Pandavaha. It's not Pandavaha. One Pandava, obviously Arjuna, because he was the one seated behind Krishna there. And they had divine celestial horns and they blew those celestial conches. That's all it is, nothing much to say. Panchajanyam Hrishikeshaha
Panchajanyam Hrishikeshaha
Devadattam Dhananjayaha
Devadattam Dhananjayaha
Poundram Dadmau Mahashankham
Poundram Dadmau Mahashankham
Bhimakarma Vrikodaraha
Bhimakarma Vrikodaraha
Ananta Vijayam Raja
Ananta Vijayam Raja
Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha
Kunti Putro Yudhishthiraha
Nakulas Sahadevascha
Nakula Sahadevascha
Sughoshamani Pushpakau.
Sughoshamani Pushpakau.
This is just a rendition. This is as seen on TV by Sanjaya. Sanjaya with TV vision, he's seeing all this and describing it as best as he can. So, Panchajanya is the name of Krishna's conch. Panchajanya. And then Devadatta is the name of Arjuna's conch. And then Bhima's conch is named Poundram. Poundra. And Bhima, they all blew their respective conches, and Bhima has Bhima Karma Vrikodaraha. Bhima Karma means Bhima known as such because he is a man of great, brave deeds, fierce deeds. So therefore he is known as Bhima. Bhima of fierce, accomplishments. And then the one who had a concave stomach like a wolf, always hungry. Vrikodaraha. What did he do? He also said, I am going to blow my conch. So, Ananta Vijaya was the name of Yudhishthira's conch. And who is Yudhishthira? Raja. Who is Raja? The king, the rightful king. And then Kunti Putraha, the son of Kunti. And then the Nakula and Sahadeva, the other two Pandavas, not to be outdone, they also had two conches. What happened to what were their names? Sughosha and then Manipushpaka. They also had two conches, and then they also did this. They also blew their conches. Kashyascha Parameshvasaha
Kashyascha Parameshvasaha
Shikhandi cha Maharathaha
Shikhandi cha Maharathaha
Dhrishtadyumno Viratascha
Dhrishtadyumno Viratascha
सात्यकीश्चापराजितः सात्यकीश्चापराजितः द्रुपदो द्रौपदेयाश्च
Drupado Draupadiyaschа
सर्वशः पृथिवीपते
Sarvashah Prithivipate
सौभद्रश्च महाबाहुः
Saubhadrascha Mahabhahuः
शङ्खान् दद्मुः पृथक् पृथक्
Shankhan Dadmuh Prithak Prithak
Yeah. So, he's what's his name? Sanjaya continues to narrate, and he says that Kashyascha, Shikhandi, Vrishtadyumna, all these, and the Satyaki, all these people who are unsurpassed in valor, and then the sons of Draupadi, Drupada, all these people, they kept blowing their own conches when all at the same time blew their individual conches. At this time, of course, there are no names given of the people and their respective conches. The idea is that all the leaders blew their conches of the various divisions, and then creating a certain environment to start fighting. And what is that environment? An environment of great cacophony, but also great morale boosting environment, where each one says, I'm going to blow louder than that one. Oh, I'm going to beat my drum louder than the other side. And so saying, they kind of manufactured a certain ability to go into war, and by keeping their morale high. And then what happened? Saghosho dhartarashtraṇam
Saghoshodhartarashtraṇam
hridayani vyadarayat
Hridayani vyadarayat
nabhascha prithivim chaiva
Nabhascha prithivim chaiva
tumulo vyanunadayan.
Tumulo vyanunadayan.
Saghosha means this horrible sound, what happened? Dhartarashtranam hridayani vyadarayat, pierced the hearts of, vyadarayat means tore asunder the hearts of the Dhritarashtra's sons, meaning so much noise, the noise they made and the noise the other people made, it reverberated through the earth and the sky, nabhascha prithivincha, and created such a cacophony and pierced the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. And then Arjuna is getting ready to speak. What does he say? Let us see. अथ व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा
अथ व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा
धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः
धार्तराष्ट्रान् कपिध्वजः
प्रवृत्ते शस्त्रसम्पाते
प्रवृत्ते शस्त्रसम्पाते
धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः
धनुरुद्यम्य पाण्डवः
ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम्
ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम्
इदमाह महीपते.
इदमाह महीपते.
अथ then vyavasthitan dhartarashtran kapidhvajah drishtva. Kapidhvajah means the one who has the Hanuman on the banner. Who was that? Arjuna. So Arjuna is called Kapidhvajah. It's not a name for Hanumanji. So remember that, the one whose banner is distinguished by Hanumanji, this Kapidhvajah. What did he do? Atha vyavasthitan dhartarashtran drishtva. Having seen the assembled sons of Dhritarashtra assembled on the battlefield, pravritte shastra sampate, who had this seeing the sons with a battle ready to begin, and them completely endowed with, all the warriors, not just them, everyone endowed with their weapons. What did he do? Dhanuhu udyamya pandavaha. Kapidhvajah Pandavaha refers to the same person. Who is that? Arjuna. Yeah. So both of them are just synonyms. So this Kapidhvaja, this Pandava, this Arjuna, what did he do? He saw that everybody was getting ready to strike. They were beating their chests, and hearing the noise, they were picking up their weapons, ready to discharge their weapons. They were taking, aim. And seeing that, he also picks up his bow. And Dhanuhu Udyamya, picking up his bow, says the following words to Krishna. What he says, we will see tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.